Hello, everyone. It's episode 102 of the Strip Poker Night at the Inventory podcast. We just got back from our hangover episode, also known as the Wonderful 101, or the Wonderful Episode 101. Live casts are pretty cool episodes. 100 is a cool number. 101 is a cool number. 102 is just kind of a number. We're back to the daily grind. I'm your usual host, spnanon, and kind of like last time, we have some odds and ends to take care of after our big celebration bashes. One fully fledged new testing roster character, in fact, a masquerade character that we've alluded to already. But after that, just some simple main roster releases. So this should be a quick one, but I say that every time. So once again, I'm your host, spnanon, accompanied by my co-host, Nord. Say hi.
Hello, I'm Nord, now available in Standard Edition exclusively.
With the vertical stand sold separately?
Yes, but with swappable hand poses, such as one raised finger and two raised fingers. Other fingers sold separately.
Did you reimagine 3?
No.
Damn it.
That third voice you hear is our returning guest, returning from episode 101, as well as all the way from back in 2021. It is Coolcat, who has been contributing to the game this whole time. But go ahead and say hi once again.
Don't tell me what the fuck to do.
Please?
Okay, hi everyone!
Is that it?
That's it.
I mean, everyone knows who I am by this point.
That's it.
Don't assume that. This is your one and only chance, man. I'm not going to invite you back again for another 3 years.
I mean, sometimes they say brevity is the soul of wit.
You want to throw out anything else about what you've worked on for the game?
I mean, I've made Jim Raynor, Samus Aran, Aru Chalet, Yumiko Jabami, currently working on Justice from Helltaker. No, it's not Justice from Guilty Gear, despite everyone joking about that. I run the channel SPNatI After Sunrise. And yeah, I've done a lot of fun stuff for the game.
Is there anything else you'd like us to look forward to about the Justice project?
Got a couple ideas for certain characters I'd like her to interact with. A couple even alt outfit ideas. Yes, the police outfit is one of them. Yeah, I mean, really, it's just something that's coming along steady as she goes, and I'm happy about it. I'm real happy to be doing this.
Thank you, and be sure to respond to all the wonderful feedback that we received in the recently concluded feedback poll. The link to the full responses post and spreadsheet should be in the description. We all talked about how we appreciated reading all of the anonymous feedback that we received about our many projects for this game. So thanks to everyone who responded. Just want to put that out there one more time. Now, Justice is a demon, correct?
Yes.
So we have a full-fledged testing roster character, masquerade character, that is actually why we brought you on mainly to these past 2 podcast episodes, because this was your masquerade project, correct, Coolcat?
I mean, I wouldn't say she was mine, but I was involved, yes.
Yes, you were part of the team, let's put it that way. It is yet another Konosuba character. We actually have the full testing, or we have the full main gang, right? Cosmo, Megumin, Aqua, and Darkness on the main roster at this point. We haven't talked about Darkness moving to main roster just yet, but she did make it at the time of this recording. So you'd think that would be it, right? But we have actually, Konosuba's big enough that we have some side characters as well. There's Union, who's been in the game for a long time, even before Aqua and Darkness, I believe. And now we have Wiz, the shopkeeper. So you mentioned Justice is a demon, and Wiz is actually sort of 1 foot towards that path. You wouldn't know it just by looking at her, but she's an adventurer turned lich, apparently.
That is correct.
So kind of another zombie. But
yeah, I mean, a lich is basically a zombie who can use magic. It's a zombie wizard, essentially.
Mm-hmm. My reference point is mostly that first fiend in Final Fantasy 1, the lich, the earth demon. But
I always think of Kel'Thuzad from Warcraft.
She's a little hotter than that guy, and she also has bigger tits. She's pretty milfy. But we'll get into that. So, Coolcat, I'm going to let you take the reins here and pretty much explain all there is to this project. What is your involvement? I know you weren't the main contributor to this character, but if you can explain a little bit about who she is, her role in the story, or her role in Konosuba, as well as what was the decision-making process your team had, right? So I know the main writer was Soulheart RS, believe, who's written a couple other characters for this game. I believe Jenna from Golden Sun. And who was the main artist?
Main artist was Halo, I believe.
Halo, okay. Who's also contributed a lot of models here and there, even helped out on some of Maya's old artwork. Yeah, so tell us about this character. What did your team want to get across with her in SPNatI? What was her main appeal? And some of the decisions you made, as well as what your contributions were. So go ahead.
Right, so Wiz, in the context of Konosuba, is one of the 7 generals of the Demon King, or rather, she was, until eventually she just decided that she had enough and decided to just settle down for a quiet life of managing a shop of cursed items, which is pretty convenient for Kazuma and his party, because that means they now have one less big bad they need to defeat before finally taking on the Demon King. And yes, the way they get all their victories is through, either by accident or through very, very complex methods, because they're incompetent. And that's actually one of the things that people like about Wiz, the fact that she is actually very competent, very kind, someone who is not at all, someone who is way out of the league of Kazuma and his party, because, there's a reason people call Konosuba the anime version of It's Always Sunny. She shows up from time to time just to help them out when they need someone who's actually a powerful adventurer, or when there's a item in her shop that's going to be plot relevant in some way. Poor woman, doesn't have the best track record with her shop, because like I said, they sell cursed items, and you don't always want one of those in your pocket. One of the OVAs, the catalyst of that was actually Kazuma picking up an item from her shop that's basically going to kill him unless they find a way to stop it, which isn't even very clear. So she's a bit of a doofus in that respect, but she's a lot better off than the main cast. Certainly better than Aqua, who is, the biggest idiot, one of the biggest idiots ever, and it's kind of suspect that's one of the reasons why Aqua hates her so much, other than being undead. So yeah, it's very apparent why a lot of people like Wiz, very kind, very actually competent and powerful. And of course, very, very attractive too. She's got that, very elegant sort of look to her, where she's got long flowing hair, a very sizable chest, a very gentle demeanor. And it's for that reason why people have wanted her in SPNatI for a long time. I remember when I first found SPNatI, I was so impressed by its roster that I thought, the only character I could reasonably ask people to add is Wiz. And now that day has come. It's come full circle, and I am a very happy man because of that. The development process, like I said, she was a masquerade character, and I was not actually one of the original people who joined the team. What happened was, Insijuani came to me one day while I was at work and said, hey, so there's been some trouble with her development. We don't know if everyone's going to make it. Would you be willing to help out? Because I know that you have interest in Wiz. And after some pontificating, I decided, yeah, sure, I'll take a crack. This could be fun. And thankfully, around that time, the difficulties and the troubles stopped happening as well, and things were right back on track. But I stayed around because, I thought it'd be fun, and I do really like Wiz. But the issue is that even though I contributed a few lines, this was also right around the time when my job started kicking up the intensity a lot. There were a lot of 9-hour days, 6-hour weeks. I got dehydration sickness 3 times, and so many days I just came home absolutely wiped, not wanting to do anything resembling work. So unfortunately, I did not get to contribute to her as much as I hoped I would. But thankfully, she has still come along well regardless. You know, there's still room for improvement in areas. Her line count is really low. I wonder if eventually I could help bolster that a bit more. But I'm glad to see that I think the writing team has gone down her personality really well. I like how they've captured this very kind but also kind of foolish shopkeeper struggling to keep a business afloat despite selling cursed items. I like shopkeeper characters in general. I think that's a fun angle to go for, and I always thought SPNatI could use more of those, so Wiz being in the game is really good for that too. Of course, as we'll see later, she's not the only new addition we've gotten in that regard, but regardless, really glad to see her in. Wish I could have done more, but hey, as someone who's been a fan of hers for a long time, who am I to really complain?
Is there any more like of the decision making that you were privy to? Like maybe I don't know, if, like their underwear is canon or anything like that, or like strip order. Or...
Yeah, I remember that like the underwear wasn't something that was really canon and not something we were certain about at first, but Halo decided to do it because he thought it would look sexy and to really flex his art skills. And you know what? I complain about neither, and it looks so good that I agree. Yes, it was the right decision to go for, especially with like the the way the stockings pinch the thighs there. Love it. Beautiful. Can't get enough of it. Really good choice.
She's like kind of spilling out from it all over.
Yeah, exactly. I like the decision to give her some chub. Great choice. I really, really like it when characters like that have a bit of chub because it feels real. It feels tangible. You know, like most women in real life do not have super tight skin and hourglass figures. So eventually it gets to the point where it kind of takes you out of it because, like, I can't imagine myself touching this. This isn't real. But giving that sort of more material look to it kind of enhances the idea, in my opinion, if that makes sense.
Well, a girl being thin has never taken me out of it, but I will say, I mean, it seems pretty fitting for like a milfy type anyway. I mean, if you were a zombie, wouldn't you let yourself go a little?
Exactly, yeah.
You're dead anyway.
It's funny you keep using the term milfy because I think it turned out that when she died, she was 20 years old. It's like, okay, if she's 20, then I am Winston Churchill. She does not look it.
Well, whatever. Is there anything else you'd like to say about the process or how she's turned out? You know, since you didn't contribute maybe as much as you would have liked to, you know, you're kind of coming at this as a bit of an outsider critic. So what do you think of how she is in SPNatI?
Yeah, I mean, improve the line count, give her more to work with, give her more banter with other characters, especially the Konosuba cast. I think there's a lot places we can go with this. One part I don't like about that is that she's inevitably going to have to be bullied by Aqua, which makes me sad. Wiz didn't do anything. You just hate her because she's undead. Fuck you, Aqua. Fuck you and die.
I mean, even Aqua's generic lines match up pretty perfectly for how Aqua feels.
So yeah, Nord, as the artist for Aqua, what did you think of Wiz?
Okay, so allow me to recreate my initial reaction after my first game with Wiz from Konosuba. Jaw drops to floor, eyes pop out of sockets accompanied by trumpets, heart beats out of chest, a wooga sound effect, pulls chain on train whistle that has appeared next to head as steam bellows out, slams fists on table, rattling any nearby plates, bowls, or silverware, whistling loudly, fireworks shooting off in the background.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So you hated her.
I really... I really like Wiz. It's entirely personal bias, but fuck it. I like her a lot. Model, 10 out of 10. Halo did the model. FE Freak did the posing, it says here. I do know for a fact that Halo had a Wiz model before the Masquerade started, And I think a lot of people were like, oh, Halo will just let us use the model he already has. Halo was like, nah, I'm going to make the model even better. And so he did. And so arguably her hair in particular is even more detailed than it is in the average episode of Konosuba. This is like him using the 2D animated sprites from the gacha game level of detail, because Konosuba has its own gacha games, and they obviously have more detailed models because they're just drawn in a slightly different style and are higher quality. There's nothing to criticize here apart from just the standard thing of some of her forfeit poses are maybe need a bit of adjustment. There's one nitpick I could give to a lot of characters, even some of my own earlier characters, which is that her fingers clip through her legs in some poses. It does take a bit of either pipeline work or just image editing to fix that. So I wouldn't even blame them if they didn't bother fixing it, but it is just one of the only details I can criticize. Everything else about the art is really well done. In terms of writing, apart from yourself, Coolcat, it is Soulheart and newcomer Pandora Ral who have contributed lines to her. Currently, she still only really has her initial batch of lines from hitting testing. They're trying to work out who's going to do the next update, I believe. Yeah, she's only had initial bug cleanups rather than brand new lines added. So the main criticism I have comes from dialogue, which is that at present she suffers a lot from new character syndrome. So she says a lot of stock and standard lines towards opponent that would fit any character with the same personality tags. I wouldn't necessarily say those need to be replaced. It's just that she needs a lot more generics that feel more like Wiz, if you get me.
Yeah.
It's with only a couple of exceptions, I'd say a lot of the time issues with a new character can be fixed if you just add more rather than trying to replace every line with something that feels 100% source accurate and canon to the character. It's fine to have those more generic lines that any character could say, as long as that's not the majority of what they say. Now, I suspect Spnanon's going to get onto this as well, but she has a lot of filtered lines already, which is she only has a couple of filtered lines, actually, which I think emphasizes this problem even more, which is that she will always say her filters because they have the default higher priority. So she'll always call out to the filtered tags she targets. And the way they're written does stand out a little bit. I think it's even a case where some of her tag targets are either in I think they're in hand any, and they just sort of have her immediately comment on the on opponents, if she's against someone This is actually why I suspected that Priscilla could use magic, is that Wiz immediately said, I hope Priscilla doesn't use her powers while we're here. And I'm like, what powers? So just in general, there's a fair bit of room to grow in terms of generics and filters. But definitely as the initial testing ready state, she's already pretty good. I hope to target her a lot, and I hope she gets targets with the Konosuba gang. But it's interesting. It'll be interesting seeing her interact with other characters and how she approaches the game in general. Another thing would be at present, it feels like she only gives it as an excuse that she's here to sell her wares to people, but then that doesn't really go anywhere. So it'll be interesting to see if that's focused on more.
I agree pretty broadly with both of your thoughts. Yeah, art-wise, there's very little to criticize and a lot to praise. Obviously, she has the big fat boobs. I think I said last time, boob guys are eating very well on testing.
We're sucking very well.
Yeah, drinking very well. There's Wiz here. There's Priscilla from last episode. There's Tifa. There's Momo. There's what's her face, Vanessa. That's a big one. There's plenty to choose from. So and like Vanessa and Priscilla, like there's boob manipulation here. You can see in this pose, for instance. They're not just hanging there stock still. She moves them around, which is not easy to do when they're made out of ribbons. So that's it's very impressive, and it's something that is only becoming more common. And I got to jump on that train myself. But very nice looking, and like her clothes as well. Like her clothes are detailed. The pudge throughout her body, her spilling out all over the underwear itself. Like it's done in a very appealing way. It doesn't go too far, like maybe Chiaki's update did in a lot of people's minds. Like this, even looking at like the reference material, like it looks like pretty close, pretty understandable as an adaptation if you're going to sex her up and go with like her main archetype and appeal, especially with like her enormous tits. Like you'd think some of that fat would kind of show up elsewhere as well. So it fits. So very super appealing visuals and just like squish factor overall. Although does she not have like a starting forfeit pose? I didn't see that.
She does not, no.
Yeah, she just skipped straight to sitting, so maybe add one there. And in that regard, a lot of the transitional poses, the strips could use some work. It was kind of the same problem, where she sometimes just reaches for clothes and they just disappear. As far as the strip order itself, I kind of asked about the decision making there because it was kind of a neat order. She has like a garter belt and stockings and things, and she like takes off her thong first underneath all that because she says it's like more comfortable to do so. Which is fine, I guess, but it does seem a little bit out of character. She's so shy otherwise. So that seemed a bit contrived. I don't know if you like just wanted to make that visual happen. Do you have any insight on how that came about?
I do not know.
Well, I will forgive you.
Thanks.
So, onto the writing. Yeah, I think there's more to criticize about the writing, but she definitely wasn't bad. I think she's just she's missing some meat on her, ironically. I'll start off by saying like very first thing she said pretty much was like a parenthetical inner thought, which I have long decried. It's a crutch. It sounds weird. She's just thinking to herself, and I can read it. If that's not something that happens in the source material, don't do it. Show, don't tell. And as far as like, yeah, her overall arc and like her what is her interest in the game? What are her aims? What is she into? She talked a little bit about the magic shop stuff, but she's so like apologetic and embarrassed and shy that she's not like a typical like a huckster type, hawking her cursed goods, right? She doesn't assert herself in that way or kind of press the issue. With regards to her stuff. So you don't learn a whole lot about her magic shop or about herself. Like, I don't think she mentioned that she was a lich even once. Adora had like a filter for it, I think. And if I didn't know that Wiz was a lich, I'd be like, what? She just looks like a person. So yeah, you want to get a little bit into that. I don't know how being a lich changes your sexuality. If like...
Yeah, so like... more lines giving details on her background, basically.
Some stuff like that, working it in there somehow to her sexuality.
Yeah.
And maybe she's into a bit of pain, right? So you give her a healing potion and it hurts her. Oh, that's good stuff. But her overly apologetic nature was pretty funny, especially because like she seems like an Ara type, right? She's so like, again, yeah, I keep calling her Milfy. She's like big and a little bit imposing, but she's so embarrassed. Like
it's a recurring theme in Konosuba that characters subvert their character archetypes in funny ways. With Wiz, it's like she's so mature and refined looking, but actually she's quite a bit of a klutz, and all of her items are actually terrible.
Yeah,
like that's pretty good stuff, and I definitely think there's something there. I am going to bring up the whole filtered lines thing. Nord basically said it already, but I think it bears repeating, especially because Priscilla had that problem. Adora kind of had it, and a lot of characters just have it in general. I want to add it to like a lot of the general advice that we give writers, because it seems to be a recurring problem. I know that Soulheart RS, he wrote Jenna, and I remember Jenna had like the same problem as well, where she just like rattled off all of her filters just so fast because they're like on a hand line and they're high priority, right? So they just play immediately. Very first thing, she's like serenading like Adora or whatever about her wonderful blue eyes. And it's like there are many different ways you can space those out. You can lower their priority to 0 and just have them intermingle with the hand line, so they kind of play after a while. You can put some markers on them. You can kind of group them into different things. So like maybe she'll only mention someone's eye color once, and then she won't mention anybody else's eye color, so it doesn't seem repetitive. Or putting like multiple filters on a line, so they come up in more specific scenarios. Or waiting until a couple rounds have passed and then she can start saying them. Little stuff like that, Use filters intelligently. Don't just like put them out there and not think about like when they're actually going to show up in the game. You have to think about like what's stopping this from playing all the time. You kind of have to have that in your head, and that's something you develop over time. But yeah, I mean, she just started off like that, and it's like you want to introduce yourself on the first hand. You want to explain what she's there for and how she's a lich and she runs a magic shop and all that good stuff. Maybe she's embarrassed by being a lich. I don't know.
I mean, it's not something she's embarrassed about, but there's definitely room to work that in. Like pretty much any details of a character's background can be worked in if you're clever enough about it.
Well, I look forward to what's on the agenda for her going forward, because this is a very promising start and very appealing overall. Any final thoughts that either of you would like to share on Wiz?
The custom chubby body type is a 10 out of 10. If it seems like there's a bit of a discrepancy in how this was received compared to the last character who had a bit of like fan-on chubbiness to them, I think it's very much highlights the difference in that it's what the average fan of a character will expect from them when they play with them in SPNatI. With Wiz, it's very much expected, and it works really well.
Coolcat?
I want to bury my face in just about any part of her body.
Agreed.
Well, since you're in agreement, Coolcat, we talked about your character. Now, Nord, it's time to talk about yours. Rose from Plus Anima, the cute cat girl with the cute fingies, the claws, her big meaty claws. She has made it to main roster. I know we talked about her on testing a little while ago, and she was already very great to start off with. But she's a girl. She's a trader. She's on the road. She peddles her wares. She has we all have 2 wolves inside of us, but she has a cat inside of her, and it comes out a little bit more than the others, because that's her thing. Though Plus Anima is like you have like animal superpowers, various people throughout the world, and she has a little brother she takes care of, and she's always on the move. She's definitely low tech, but high cuteness, and she has made it to main roster. With some bonus stuff, an epilogue as well that we will talk about next episode. But for now, we're just covering her making it to main. So I had plenty of nice things to say about her last time. Coolcat, you have not had the chance to share your thoughts on her on the podcast, so we will let you go first. What did you think of Rose now that she's made it to main?
Yeah, I think she's very cute, very easy to be endeared towards. Like I said earlier, I really like characters with the shopkeeper archetype. I think that's something that we've needed more of in SPNatI for a while. She might not keep a shop, but traveling merchant is close enough and provides a pretty unique spin on it. I like how she incorporates that into the game, sometimes hucking her wares, as you put it earlier. I think that especially provides some good room for what can be done with more levity-based interactions, where she's like, "Oh, so you might enjoy this little thing I have on sale. I think it would be perfect for you," and trying to like push her wares on particular characters. I think this is another case where, like, I don't know anything about the source material, but I think is a testament to how strong the writing is that I grew on her really quickly. She's just a really cute, really easy-to-like character, and I think that there's many aspects about her that have some really good potential for really fun banter with a lot of characters.
Would she still be called Rose if you took that rose out of her hair?
Well, a rose by any other name.
Yes, because the rose does get taken out of her hair, and they still call her Rose later on.
Nord, can you share a little bit about what may have changed compared to when we spoke about her on testing? Because besides the epilogue, obviously, because you know it the best.
Yeah, so since she was on testing, I can't remember if I'd already gotten around to this since we discussed her on the podcast, but I definitely leaned heavier into the idea of if she's going to mention that she has wares, she's going to pull out a box of them and show them off during the game, and she's going to try and slip in opportunities of filtered to specific types of accessories to be yeah, I could make one of those. How about it? I could work for commission. Just trying to slip it in, but in general, I feel like I really hit my stride writing her for a bit. Really fixated on what her appeal is, what makes her special. Just sort of a fun, bubbly presence, but not one that is overly concerned with trying to make everyone happy and coddle up and build up other characters because she's here for her own good time. I don't really have any notes for my own character. The one I do have is just meow. I delved.
She is very cute, and I like how she kind of comes out of her shell, a lot like a cat, in a way.
Meow, you speak the language of my people.
I decided on this early on because I knew it would become an issue if too many people targeted it before I did this, but I did make it so that her plus anima side is only revealed if she's lost it a couple times already, or if the game has gone on for a couple dozen rounds, just because it's the sort of thing she wouldn't share right away, but I didn't want it to have it just be tied to a particular stage. So she can show off her plus anima in any stage. It's just that she's hesitant at first to show it off around total strangers, because in the source material, that sort of thing can get you in trouble. At best, in the country she's from, plus anima are viewed with fear and suspicion by normal people. In general, where she currently is, I'm pretty happy with how she's turned out. I've given her a ton of banter with other characters. I've done my best to build up her generics and filters so that she feels at home at any table. In general, she's just a sort of feature complete character now, so I probably won't give her that much attention going forward, but overall I'm satisfied with where she is.
Is there anything else you'd like to do with her? Besides fuck her, but she has an epilogue now. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
Next time.
Oh, I have a million other things to do, but at some point I want to add more reactions to Rouge the Bat. Because Rouge obviously steals treasure throughout the game. Rose already has a reaction where if Rouge has fully finished stealing from other players, she opens her box up at the end of the game and it's just empty. I was meaning to give her a treasure scope interaction at some point, but I gave her the aura camera one already, so I just need to get around to doing the treasure scope one as well. Something I want to highlight is that very early on, Clockwork and I did 100 lines of banter between Aravi and Rose, because Aravi is shipped with the shopkeeper from Monster Prom, and Rose would be initially wary of someone who says they hunt monsters, because she's oh, is this someone out to hurt plus anima? But then they end up bonding and getting along very well. And I want to highlight this because I don't think many people saw this banter because of how long Rose was on testing, and not a lot of other testing characters targeted Aravi, so there wasn't any natural suggestion of okay, if you're playing with Rose and this other character, it highlights Aravi as well. Now that Rose is on me, and I've seen her play rate with Aravi shoot up, so I hope people enjoy the banter that I wrote several months ago. Apart from that, I might give her a couple of seasonal costumes. She already has her summer outfit.
Oh yeah, I figured like, is she gonna have like a Halloween skin? Like a black cat thing?
Probably not this year. I've got other Halloween costumes to make this year, and I don't really have the time or idea for a rose one. But I'll definitely think about it for like in future.
Well, I guess she doesn't have a lot of source material to draw from in that regard, right? This is just her one look.
Yeah, she has one look. The only other appearance she really has is when she's in a hot spring and you see her shoulders, and that's where the like markings on her shoulders come from.
Saucy.
But yeah, like she's one of the only viable characters from Plus Anima who actually is still a Plus Anima. So just in general, this is sort of like a capper on a manga I read, like one of the first manga I read in full, like 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. First one I physically owned as well.
Well, I can certainly relate to that.
Yeah.
But
hey, yours was an anime. Mine never got an anime.
I'm sorry. But yeah, like I had pretty much nothing but praise for Rose when we talked about her first on testing. I don't think she's changed a whole lot since then, but she never really needed to. I liked where she was, and I like where she is now. I will share more detailed thoughts next time because we're going to cover the epilogue that you made for her, but definitely worthy of everyone's attention now that she's on the main roster, and I'm glad that she made it in a reasonable amount of time. You know, she's a fun, fit tomboy. You gotta love it. She knows how to handle herself. Maybe her butt's not that big, but the butt's a muscle, so she knows how to use it. And I remember I talked about her playing up a little bit of like the kitty cat play, the kitty cat talk, like. But I think that's actually something that our epilogue gets into anyway, so that takes care of that.
I did right before I went for QA. I did sprinkle more of that into her actual forfeit stage as well, like just letting her go a bit feral, just a little bit as a treat.
Well, there's always next time. Any other comments on Rose?
Her hair looks soft. I'd like to feel it.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It'd probably be kind of like a little matted and grimy. She's on the road. Well, anyway, that's gonna about do it for episode 102. Thanks for coming on, Nord. Thanks for coming on, Coolcat. Oh wait, April Fools. We have one more character to talk about. A former April Fools character. That's right. She made it all the way from April Fools to testing and then to the main roster. It's Natasha, or as Nord likes to say, Natasha.
Natasha.
Oh. It's a vowel sound, but I don't know. The Brits don't seem to like it. But let's not get into the linguistics of the matter. This is Natasha Cerebellum, also known as store brand Nina Cortex in some circles. We kind of went about that whole rigmarole when she came on testing, or maybe even when we covered her in April Fools. But she
Wait, so we didn't get Natasha Volkova from Command & Conquer Red Alert 3? My day is ruined.
Well, now that your day is ruined, would you like to share your thoughts on her as she is on the main roster now? Again, this is an original character by Blue Coin, heavily inspired by the Crash Bandicoot character. She's sort of a bad bitch. She's got the extendo arm. She's got mechanical parts. She's a villain and proud of it, and she likes to express all the horrible things that she does, but in kind of a tongue-in-cheek, cartoony way. So, Coolcat, you have not shared your thoughts on Natasha yet, so this is your first and only chance. Go for it.
Right, so with a lot of Blue Coin original characters like this, they're a bit of an odd thing to analyze because there's always an archetype or a certain character that he's trying to mimic with them. And it's you can come at it with the perspective of why not just make the character themselves. But then you could also argue, well, he's still putting the passion required to make this sort of archetype into it. So what's really lost there? In that perspective, seeing her writing, seeing her design, there's definitely all the passion. Like making, these arms, doing all these crazy poses, that can't have been easy. And the dialogue, that hits that sort of appeal that she's going for very well. This very crazy, very unhinged sort of menacing girl doll. Like, it's all there. But a part of me admittedly wonders, like, okay, why not make the kind of character from a canon source material? So yeah, like, it's something where I feel very torn on because there's a lot of work that went into this, and it's admirable, and I do respect that. But I'm also just a bit confused by the choice to make it an OC? If that makes sense.
I mean, she doesn't really look like Nina Cortex that much, I don't think. Nina Cortex is like a huge head with an N on her forehead.
I guess, yeah. It's just that, there are parallels there that are hard to ignore.
Maybe you wanted to kind of like sex up the character idea. Did you have any other thoughts on her? And in terms of like maybe where you want to see her go from here? Because your main roster, it's a big deal. She's with us forever now.
No.
Okay then, Nord.
Okay, so another example of the April Fool's 2 testing to me and pipeline, previously seen with Magmagron and Wikipatan. With both of them, they were both at least from some sort of source. Natasha is ostensibly just an original character that is heavily inspired by another character, like with Bluecoin's own spin on it. Bluecoin's a very competent developer and like knows how to pose his characters pretty well. Knows how to write like decent lines as well. She's sort of like it's the last time we talked about her, I think we really emphasized she needs to find a niche for what she is. And I think that probably contributed to why, like, in her final stages, she no longer turns good. She just sort of stays at the same level of petty evilness she already had. I think that was a good decision because, like, if you're picking a non-April Fool's character, the player shouldn't be like completely surprised or tricked by what is happening in the game.
Yeah, that felt like a very like inherent joke to the character. It feels like April Fool's residue. I said.
It's hard to really say where a character should go if they're an original character because you can't just say like, oh, there's this thing from source they haven't really explored. With Natasha, I think she'd be fine on main just as she is. Maybe with another costume or two if Bluecoin wanted to and had like a fun idea for like just alternates for her. Not a character I'd play with all the time, but definitely enjoyable for what she is. He does put in the effort with some extendo arm poses, like one where she's covering herself up a lot. I was able to see with it like coiling around her. More poses where she does silly things, or even dare I say it, tries to do sexy things with it. Would be interesting to see, but obviously, like poses like this take a lot more effort because you have to draw the arms.
No, those are just rope belts. Used pretty efficiently, actually.
You're right. Actually, I didn't really think about that until now, but now I can't unsee it. So I'm cursed with that knowledge now.
A good use of them. You didn't even notice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Apart from that, I was able to work out the secret behind the mysterious collectible X, aka Digital 72648CC. It turns out it's an email with lore implications for her.
Ooh.
The decryption I got is, my alias is Platinum. I know that name isn't going to mean anything to you, but you can trust me. I don't know what you're doing to rid Natasha of her evil, but I need you to keep it up. She'd prove a useful ally if only she'd listen to reason. And after Nero Forte died, I need all the help I can get. P.S. Don't feel too proud about solving the cipher. I kept it easy. Damn, calling me out for bothering to solve it. But yeah, does that actually mean anything? Is it just a holdover from her April Fool's days? Who knows?
Yeah,
I like
that's the one thing you can criticize a lot sometimes with this character is that you don't always know like what is like a holdover from her April Fool's days. It does seem like that's still following her around a little bit, although it is nice to have that he has like a stronger idea of like how evil she is now.
Yeah, definitely. I don't really know how much of it is just April Fool's character versus original character, because Blue Coin does have a habit of putting original characters into April Fool's just because he didn't want to write the full character and he wants to lean more into the jokey side of what he's doing. But Natasha, I would say, is like a fully realized character now. A lot of my criticism before was that she still felt like an April Fool's holdover, but now she definitely feels like a properly freshed out original character.
She's definitely better now. Like my earlier criticism of her feeling so April Foolsy has definitely diminished a lot. I'd say the strongest residue that's left is actually her AI, her win rate. She's like, 7 layers of good or best or whatever, and she has like a 52% win rate, which was recently calculated, which is a lot. That's like more than the player, whereas the ideal is like 20% for an opponent.
Yeah, the idea. There's been a lot of talk about win rates recently because people have caught on to the fact that they can now like check their character's win rate. A character like Yusei, my Yu-Gi-Oh protagonist, he has a sort of higher win rate. He hovers between like 15% and 20%. We discovered that Nadeshiko had a win rate of like 1%, so Tweetsy's been buffing her AI. I do think that Natasha having an above 50% win rate is something that should be adjusted, just because people are going to get frustrated and not want to play with the character. I say specifically here because she has unlockable collectibles that you can wear, and I don't think people are going to want to grind those out against a character that is actively trying to beat everybody. Compare that to say Kara. Like Kara has best AI, but it is specifically doing it to help you win. So once everyone else has lost, Kara will start throwing the game. Yeah,
like Bluecoin had he was made aware of the issue and he kind of seemed reluctant to change it, but like 52% is a lot, dude. Like that's an April Fool's character win rate. That's like Pot of Greed level. Like you got to bring that down. You just make her average. It's fine. She can be evil. And not like a poker god. The last thing I'll say is, now that she's on main, the question is less like nailing down like the character, like the focus of the character, and more, she's a main roster character. How is she going to engage with the rest of the cast now that you've got just herself figured out? And because targets are really what's left for a main roster character, and sure she's evil, but how is she going to connect that to other characters? Because she doesn't have a ton of targets, and most of the ones she does have are just like insulting people, I think. Again, that's sort of like a thing you can get away with as an April Fool's character, but online, like, how is she going to target them is my question. What's a really good through line that you can do for a lot of different targets? Like maybe she could like probe like the evil desires of the characters, like get them thinking about like all the horrible things they're like capable of doing, or I don't know, put those ideas in her head or in their heads. There are infinite ways you can go with it, right? She's an original character, but if her whole thing is being evil, like maybe try to make others more evil or what? That to me seems more fun and engaging than just like being a bitch and like being evil to them, like convince them to join the evil side. That's my suggestion.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. That's like a thing that's like really, that's like your elevator pitch. for her, you know?
Trying to tempt players towards the dark side, as it were. That would be fun, yeah.
You're just other characters. That's my suggestion. But do either of you have any final thoughts on Natasha?
She could fill the niche that is being left with Revi no longer targeting the newer characters. Just poking away at the kind-hearted characters until she finally gets them to say, piss off.
I plead the fifth.
Yeah, I mean, if there was more leaning into that aspect, then honestly, yeah, she could stand out. She could be pretty fun.
A lot of focus on the game is on targets now. Not that like your character needs 100 targets to every character on main or anything, but definitely like if you figure out that there's characters she could be or will be paired with a lot, you want to get a lot of banter going to reward players for trying out those characters. That's how I sort of view the fact that a lot of my focus on development these days is getting a lot of detailed banter with like fun character pairings and like focusing on the crossover aspect. Because even if she is an original character, she has like she has inner workings that can really shine when someone like if you get another character to just ask her, hey, what's up with this part, you know, thing that you mentioned, and Natasha actually engages with it, that gets people interested in your OC more, because it's like, oh, because I paired these characters together, I learned more about Natasha, and the other character gets responded to. I hope that made sense. That was a bit off the cuff there.
I think that makes perfect sense.
Any thoughts, Coolcat?
I mean, yeah, like I said earlier, you know, what you suggested is a good idea of helping her stand out and making her really fun to play with. I think if that's explored, then it'd help her out a lot. It'd be really good.
All right, well, I think that's going to do it for episode 102. I mean, we covered a big titty milfy lich, covered a slender little cat girl tomboy, covered a extendo arm cyborg. We're really running the gamut here. And
We covered old friends and new friends and even a bear.
It's back to business as usual for the Strip Poker Night at the Inventory podcast. So thanks for coming on, Nord. Thanks for coming on, Cool Cats. I think this is if you're an American, I think this is going to be the last episode before Election Day. So yeah. If you're an American and you like this game, go vote. Specifically, tell Trump to just fuck off. So fucking sick of this asshole. Him and all his like Republican sycophants. Like this piece of shit has been like front page of the news for like a third of my fucking lifetime at this point. I swear to God, like just fucking running his mouth about stupid shit he made up. So sick of it. You know, part of their platform, you know, Project 2025, they're gonna ban porn. So all that, just so like if you like this game, seriously, like just all of it, they're gonna ban it. You know, no more jerking off to anime butts. I mean, they've already pushed stuff through in a bunch of states. If you heard about that, like, and the sad part is, like, that's not even in the top 100 like scariest things in that shit. If you read it, you know, if trying to overthrow the government wasn't bad enough for you, but like it's there among other things. So, like, they're not going to succeed in passing all of them probably, but they're going to try, and that's bad enough. So, swear to God, like if young people just voted, Republicans would never win anything. It's really that simple. Just go out and vote. Old people just vote more. That's really what it comes down to. And if you're one of those people who's like, oh, you know, both sides are bad, they're all the same, they're all corrupt. Look, I get it. I was once like you in 2016. And that's why we're in this mess. It's my fault, okay? I got us into it. Please help me get us out. And if you didn't want to hear about politics in your Strip Poker podcast, well, me fucking neither. This is the world we're living in. I don't know if either of you have any thoughts on the subject. I know Nord, you are not an American, so it's not quite your lane.
As someone living in the United Kingdom, please vote for someone who means that I never have to hear about American politics again for the next 4 to 8 years. Please.
Yeah, if you're pretty young, remember, it used to be that you would open up the news and like the president or like some guy who used to be the president wasn't literally the headline all the time. You could actually go a day and not see him. But yeah, Coolcat, anything?
If voting isn't enough for you, there's other ways. Find issues you care about and call or email your senators about them. Talk with your representatives. Join the IWW if you really care about labor rights. They can tell you about different strikes and protests going on near you that you can help with, or you'll like the dues you pay will be helping out strikes across the country and help out members who have lost their jobs. That's all the unique stuff that I can talk about.
That's a wonderful thing to do. I'm very lazy. Okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to sit at home and jerk off to cartoon characters.
Well, we all help out in our own ways.
The very least you could do is vote, okay? It's not that hard. So, yeah. Both sides are bad? Yes. Both sides are equally bad? No. Grow up. Do the right thing.